Hi, my name is Paul Reimers, and I've been an Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop teacher for over 10 years. And I have a few questions for you. When you took the workshop, did you continue to practice the creation process and the unity breath and getting into the sacred space and tiny space and all the other beautiful practices from the workshop? Or did those meditations and practices fall by the wayside, leaving you with just a beautiful memory of how you spent 4 days at some point in your past? Did you maybe, after the workshop, get home and really, with every intention of continuing those practices and building on them, only to find that if you had an existing practice like meditation, qigong, yoga, that trying to add those other practices left you feeling a little bit overwhelmed? Do you have a tendency to accumulate knowledge like workshops, classes, books, podcasts, and things like that, and say, oh, that's so good, I totally have to use that, only to find that you seek the next thing without really integrating and fully living what you learned from the previous thing? So in the process of me teaching for all this time, I've learned that the real change comes as a result of integration. So this is a completely free video series that I'd like to offer you. And this is something that is designed to help you get more out of the practices and processes from the ATIH Workshop, regardless of when you took it. See, I've been writing and teaching classes and workshops for over 10 years. And everything from a 2-hour class to multiple class series to weekend intensive to longer workshops. And one of the things that I've been doing is working with my students, creating support materials and things like that to help them, act as a reference for these practices to help them keep going with them and really integrate them. And in all of this time and following up with students, I've really discovered some remarkable things to really show what things help you to really integrate and make real change versus just accumulated knowledge. And one of the things I'm so excited to share with you is this distinction between tools and practices. I've had the good fortune of studying with Drunvalo Melchizedek 4 times, including once when he certified me to teach his 4-day Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, which we abbreviate to the ATIH Workshop. I have done a lot of study with Egyptian spirituality. It's that and sacred geometry and alchemy are total passions of mine. I've had 7 physical teachers in the area of Egyptian spirituality and a number of non-physical ones. I write and I teach classes and workshops, like I said before, on a number of different subjects, especially sacred geometry, alchemy, imagery work, meditation, consciousness, shadow work, the chakras, working with subtle energy, and more. And I am just endlessly fascinated with consciousness and energy and what are the things that help people to really evolve and expand and grow to the next level. I'm so honored to be a teacher of this amazing 4-day workshop, the ATIH Workshop that Drunvalo created and polished and refined over the course of decades. And it's such a beautiful series of meditations and practices. And I still do them regularly. The creation process and working with the Prana flow and all these other things are just part of my daily life. It's something, it's part of how I live. And I always love to follow up with students and connect with them after the workshop, say, how are you doing? What's been going on with you? What's your practice been like? Are you still practicing those meditations, like the creation process, connect with the higher self and the sacred space and tiny space, and all of these other really beautiful things? And I'm so excited to hear from students that, yes, they continue to practice it. It's just part of their daily life. They found a way to kind of fit these things in, and it really helps to make a difference in their life. But there's some students who I follow up with, and they're like, life happens, and it was such a beautiful class, and I appreciate all that you did to support me, but I'm not really as regular as I'd like to be with these practices. And in following up with these people, both groups, I've made some really interesting distinctions about what makes the difference. What makes the difference between learning something and absorb and sort of integrating it and making your life different with it, like really integrating, like I said before, versus just be like, oh, isn't that interesting, and something that's information and content that they understand is part of their memory, but it just isn't part of them. It isn't part of their being. It isn't part of how they live their life. When they create from their life, maybe they're not creating from their heart through the creation process. When they're seeking guidance, maybe they're going online and, doing AI or whatever and getting guidance from stuff rather than connecting with their higher self. And I'm not here to, dismiss any of these things. But, I know that when people took that, workshop, like when you took it, what was your intention of taking it? Did you think, I'm going to just create everything, create my whole life from my heart? I'm always going to be checking in and stay connected with my higher self and my angels and my guides. Always get answers from your own personal Akashic records in the sacred space and the tiny spaces, the universal Akashic records. So did you continue to live out that intention of actually creating from your heart, living from your heart, getting supported by all of that really remarkable guidance? Or is that something that's kind of, as great as it is, maybe it fell by the wayside? So if it has fallen by the wayside, I would just encourage you, if you'd like to check out this free video series to see what's possible in terms of really revitalizing your understanding of the workshop and really how to integrate these key elements, as well as some cool tips to take some of these processes and practices further. And it's really interesting because sometimes I've had people where there's just a small confusion about something, a small confusion about the beams, or the small confusion about not really sure if they're able to they're really having a clear experience of getting into the sacred space or tiny space, the heart. And it's kind of a murky thing, and as a result, they don't continue. So this series I'm so excited about because I would love to just help you clarify different practices and experiences from this workshop in this totally free series. So this series is a series of 5 videos. You'll get access to the first one right away, and then each day you'll get access to another one. What this will do is give you time to explore the video, live with it, practice it, kind of, refresh your memory about the ATIH workshop. And then the next day you'll get an email that'll have a link to the second video. And it'll be a total of 5 videos in this series. Each one focuses on a key aspect of the ATIH workshop in such a way that it clarifies and helps you go just a little bit deeper than maybe you have gone before with it. So this first video in the series is on the Prana tube and the spheres. And in this video, what I do is I will go into it and share some of the hidden benefits of having this flow activated, and as well as a number of different applications of how you can use it to help yourself and to help others as well. Because there's so many things in this workshop that I use, like I said, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, like the creation process, the Prana tube and the spheres. But the Prana tube and the spheres, I do multiple times a day. Anytime looking to build up energy, doing things like supporting something like working out, doing Qigong or something like that. If I'm doing energy work for somebody else, it's like tapping to that and flowing that energy through the Prana tube and the spheres. And so there's a lot of different things you can do with it. So what I'm going to do in this first video is show you some of the sort of the hidden benefits of having it, as well as certain other unique ways you can work with it. Like you can build certain qualities of energy. You can work with the Prana tube of tuning into different dimensional levels, and each one has a unique quality to help support you or others in flowing that energy. So that is the first video in the series of 5. Another thing that I love about the Prana tube is that it gives you when you know how to use it, and I will share this in this first video, it sort of allows you to kind of fine tune your energy, just like you tune in to, to put on whatever kind of music you choose, or to turn up the music, or to change the equalizer or things like that, to change the sound, the tone of the music. And I feel like the Prana tube and the spheres gives you a really remarkable tool to boost your energy, and you can tune yourself to give you the best possible energy for maybe getting out of bed when you're short on sleep, to help you like pre-warm up for working out. I'll show ways of how you can practice flowing this energy to help you do things like dynamic things like working out or playing a sport, how you can use it to, assist you in doing a form of meditation, for example, to tune into different qualities of that. There's a lot of different things you can use it for. The second video in this series is on the unity breath. The unity breath is such a powerful and beautiful practice, and for some, it continues to be rich and this beautiful, loving exchange, and for others, it gets a little thin over time. And I'll show you a common mistake that sometimes people make that can lead to them having a diminished experience of it over the time, where it's not really that beautiful or that moving, that over time it just gets a little bit, not quite as rewarding, and that can diminish their experience and a clarity of getting into the sacred space and the tiny space of the heart. I'll also show 2 really cool things that you can learn about yourself based on the dynamics of how the energy flows while you're doing the unity breath. The third video in this series is all about clarifying your experience of getting into the sacred space and the tiny space of your heart. Most of the people who take the workshop by day 4 are having clear experiences of getting into the sacred space, the tiny space, and know the difference between them. And that's so great. But there's some people that still have a little bit of lack of clarity. So in this third video, what I'm going to do is share with you ways that you can amplify the clarity. You can sort of turn up the lights, kind of turn up that distinction, that clarity, to help you have a very crystal clear experience of when you're in the sacred space and what the sacred space is all about and what it's like, moving into this tiny space, what that is like, and being able to discern the differences between the two of them. Another thing too that I'm so excited to share is there's a principle from sacred geometry that when you understand it, and I'll share this in this third video, you can integrate your experiences of the sacred and tiny space together to create a greater depth of understanding. Because there's plenty of people who get into the sacred space and are like, wow, this is so beautiful and amazing, and it's my personal Akashic records. But then when they learn how to access the tiny space of the heart, sometimes they don't continue to explore the sacred space. And I think I understand, because when they get into the tiny space, they can call them their higher self or guides or masters or angels and ask questions and get their questions answered that way. But I think it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to let such a beautiful space like the sacred space to kind of go to waste. Like it becomes the lobby that you move through to get to the tiny space. But in this third video, I'll share with you how you can get a lot more out of the sacred space, a lot more out of the tiny space, and integrate your 2 experiences together. Like if you have a question of something that you're working on in your life, you can go into the sacred and ask the question there, this tiny space, have an experience asking the question there, and integrate the 2 of them so you have a more complete depth of understanding of your question. Similar to if you would just book a session with a really great Akashic record reader. You can have this sort of the same depth of clarity, of insight on your own by learning how to integrate these 2 experiences from these 2 places together. Okay, the fourth video in this series is about the creation process. The creation process is sort of like, almost like the crown jewel of the ATIH Workshop. So much kind of builds up to it. So in this fourth video, what I'm going to do is share with you my top 3 tips of how to boost the creation process to have an even powerful, even more amazing experience of doing the creation process every time you do it. There are some other tips in terms of how to, if you feel like there's too many steps and it's like, okay, I got the tongue and this and that and all these things. And sometimes I have people that say it kind of feels like they're tapping their head and rubbing their stomach. Like it feels like they're trying to coordinate all these things, and it feels like a little bit like they're juggling or it's too much stuff. And so in this fourth video, what I'm going to do is share with you ways to simplify your understanding, simplify your experience of it, so that it just feels like it's just one flowing practice that keeps flowing and expanding and getting better. As well as there's a really interesting principle that I found of timing that can really magnify your results of your experience of the creation process, as well as there's a couple other really cool benefits you get from timing it in this certain way. And the last video in this series is on Merkaba programming. It's on the Merkaba and programming. And it's so funny because I've had plenty of people who are taking the workshop because they're so excited about having the Merkaba activated. But honestly, in all this time I've been teaching this workshop, I've only had one person that walked in the door and was like, I'm so excited to activate my Merkaba and then learn how to program it. And I was like, oh, cool. You're after my same heart. Like, I love that too. I'm passionate about that. And so what I'm going to share with you in this 5th video is ways to kind of play with and work with Merkaba programming, where it's like a creative, beautiful experience where you can kind of keep tweaking. You can kind of put a program in and test it and see what your experience is, and then you can refine it over time. So while you can't necessarily change a Merkaba program, you can put one in, you can kind of notice what your experience is in, how life may be showing up differently, and then you can make distinctions of, oh, there's this little bit of limitation in this, or oh, here's this element that I can add to this program to make it even better. And then what you do, of course, is you would this process that I'll share of writing it down, and you delete the old one and put the new one in. So there's this process that I'll share about how to fine-tune your process of creating it, as well as the process of how to create new ones, track your results, as well as to kind of see the ecology, how all of your programs in your Merkaba are working together. And is it balanced, or are there some gaps? And just looking at all of that in terms of how to work with your Merkaba. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. And what I'm going to do is there'll be a link underneath this video. If it's on Facebook, it'll be in the comments section. You go to the first comment, and what I'll do is put the actual link where you can go to get this totally free training. All I ask is just put in your name, your email address. You'll get instant access for the first video, and then every day after that for the next 4 days, you'll get the next videos 2 through 5. And I just am so excited to share this with you. I hope you have a really great experience from it. If you have any questions at all, if anything, if you're seeing this on Facebook, you can click on my profile and send me a message through Messenger. But also too, and I'll embed this in the video, my email is info@paulreimers.com. And if you have any questions, any challenges, anything like that at all, then you please send me an email at this address. So thank you so much for taking the time to look at this, and I'm so excited to share this information with you.